I have to admit, I'm not a very big Final Fantasy fan, but so far I do like the demo version, and on top, Final Fantasy XVI is offering, with the right settings in the game and on your TV, really great HDR. Hello my friends and welcome back to my channel. Let's start with the very important things first. Final Fantasy XVI supports the HDR system level calibration on the PlayStation 5. And because of that, it is of course very important that you set up the HDR system level calibration on your console in the correct way. And if you're now asking how to do that, I put a link in the description where I explain how to set up HDR on the PlayStation 5. And after I set up the PlayStation 5 HDR system level calibration for my LG G2, which should be around 1000 nits, I found already the first problem in the game. Maybe I shouldn't call it problem, because the only thing what I found is actually that the game always outputs actually a higher peak brightness than expected. So again, I have set up the PlayStation 5 to my LG G2 or for my LG G2, which means 1000 nits maximum peak brightness. And of course I did this with HDR enabled, but the game outputs around 1500 nits all the time, which means you have, even with HDR enabled, some clipping in specular highlights. But to be very honest, I don't think that's a big problem, because most of the time when you play the game, you don't have time to look at specular highlights, so you will not notice any clipping anyway. So now I think we should talk about HDR black level rays. And when I started the game for the very first time, and of course I enabled HDR on my LG G2 and I started with the standard factory setting in the game, I found the game looks a little bit washed out. And after some testing, I found that it is actually not a good idea to change anything in terms of the fine-tuned dark area settings or brightness, because you will lose a lot of details in shadows. What I found is the screen brightness setting in the game, standard setting is 5, is causing a little bit of a washed out picture. And after some more testing, I found actually that on my LG G2, a setting around 2 is actually not too bad. I mean, 3 is also fine, but then already it's starting to wash out the picture. The problem now what I'm having is that with HDR enabled, the whole picture or the general picture is too dark. And that was when I decided to use dynamic tone mapping on. And usually I'm not a big fan of dynamic tone mapping on, because you will not have a proper HDR picture all the time. But in this case, I really do like it, because it is a very powerful and bright picture. And with setting the screen brightness to number 2, it's actually really great in terms of contrast. I haven't found any, I wouldn't say any, but I haven't found too much black level rays, HDR black level rays. It's actually really great playable. And please keep in mind, I'm playing, when I'm testing my games and when I'm playing in a complete dark room, almost very dark. So there's just maybe one ambient light on, but other than that, very dark. And the contrast with dynamic tone mapping on and screen brightness 2 is actually great. And the good thing what I found is that even you change the screen brightness in the game to, let's say, 0 or 10, it will not affect the maximum peak brightness in specular highlights. And that is exactly what I like to see in a game when we're changing brightness. And this is really great, because you can now change the brightness or the general brightness in the game to your liking, and you will not affect maximum peak brightness. You have always great HDR effects. But again, keep in mind that I found screen brightness set to 5 is already washing out the picture slightly. Okay, my friends, so that's for now. That's for this very quick video about the Final Fantasy XVI demo and so far. Yeah, again, I'm not the biggest fan in terms of games like that. I prefer actually Diablo over Final Fantasy. I know it's not comparable, two different games, but anyway, I liked the demo version. I'm not quite sure if I should now actually order the final product or release version, because I'm not sure actually if there will be any change in terms of HDR or in terms of the general product. I don't think so. But anyway, let me know in the comment section what you think about the game, and what you think about my recommended settings, and how do you like actually dynamic tone mapping on in this game. Thank you very much, and I see you next time. Bye.